Recorded Books presents Between Worlds, the collected Ile-Rien and Kenneth stories by Martha Wells. Narrated by Samuel Rukin. The Potter's Daughter. This story takes place sometime before the events of the novel The Element of Fire. The potter's daughter sat in the late afternoon sun outside the stone cottage, making clay figures and setting them out to dry on the flat slate doorstep. A gentle summer breeze stirred the oak and ash leaves and the dirty grey kerchief around her dirty blonde hair. Someone was coming up the path. She could hear that he was without horse, cart, or company, and as he came toward her through the trees, she saw that he was tall, with dark curly hair, and a beard, with a pack and a leather case slung over one shoulder. He was unarmed and dressed in a blue woolen doublet, faded and threadbare, brown breeches and brown top boots. The broad-brimmed hat he wore had seen better days, but the feathers in it were gaily coloured. Brief disappointment coloured her expression. She could tell already he wasn't her quarry. Boots crunched on the pebbles in the yard. Then his shadow fell over her, and he said, "Good day. Is this the way to Riversea?" She continued shaping the wet clay, not looking up at him. "Just follow this road to the ford." "Thank you, my Lady Cade." Now she did look up at him, in astonishment. Part of the astonishment was at herself, that she could still be so taken by surprise. She dropped the clay and stood, drawing a spell from the air. Watching her with delight, he said, "Some call you Cade Carrion, because that is the sort of name given to witches. But the truth of the matter is that you are the daughter of the dead King Fulstan, and moi, a woman said to be the dame of air and darkness of the Fairy." He was smiling at her. His eyes were blue and guileless, and he had a plain, open face. Cade stopped, hands lifted, spell poised to cast. Names could be power, depending on how much one knew, but he was making no move towards her. Intrigued, she folded her arms and asked, "Who soon to be in hell are you?" "I know all the tales of your battle with the court, the tricks you play on them," he told her, his expression turning serious. "But the story I tell of you is the one about the young gentlewoman of Byre, who died of heartbreak in the Carmelite convent's spring garden, when the prince of a rival city took her maidenhead and mocked her for it afterwards." Cade lifted an ironic brow. "I remember the occasion. I didn't realize how entertaining it was. Finding an untidy dead woman in my favorite garden was not the high point of my day." It was incredible that he had recognized her. No one in their right mind would expect a half-fey, half-human witch to be barefoot and wearing a peasant's muddy dress. As a rule, the fey were either grotesquely ugly or heartbreakingly beautiful. Cade was neither. Her eyes were merely grey. Her skin tended to brown or redden rather than maintain an opalescent paleness, and her features were unfashionably sharp. She had never looked like anyone expected her to look, and this was why she had never expected anyone to recognize her when she didn't want to be recognized. Oblivious, he continued, "You took on the appearance of the poor lady and waited there, and when the prince returned—" "He found me instead, and we all know what happened to him then, don't we?" "Yes," he agreed readily. "You found that the little idiot had consented, and that she had been as guilty of bad judgment and weak nature as he was guilty of being a rake. So instead of killing him, you cursed him with a rather interesting facial deformity to teach him better manners." Cade frowned, startled in spite of herself. She had never heard anyone tell the incident in that light. It was astonishingly close to her own point of view.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.